Our center, and when I say our, I mean all of ours. So
Fall is in the air.
thank you guys for being here today. And it's just a wonderful day on the farm all weekend. So anyway, we would like to start the service today. We have Reverend Sue going to be speaking, and so we're all happy. We miss you, Karen, but we'll waddle through somehow. So with that in mind, we're going to start the service with a song called "This Is the Day." If you please rise and join with us, bring up the spirit. We'd greatly appreciate it. B flat.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Kay Fontana. Most of you know that, and I'm one of the practitioners here. And I want to welcome all those watching online as well. So, Reverend Karen is officiating her granddaughter's wedding in Texas, and Reverend Clyde is out and about having fun and then also working out of town. So we are blessed to have Reverend Sue here today. Yay! And Gloria is our practitioner in training today. So I've got a lot of announcements today, but before we go into announcements, we're going to break for a message from our sponsor, Gourmets for God.
Hello again. I'm Julia Honeychild, the gourmet goddess, and I'm here joined by my dear friend Lydia Baste Your Own Fish. We are still working on our boeuf bourguignon. The delightful dish doesn't usually take quite this long, but for some reason we keep running out of time.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Julia, but we definitely keep running out of wine. By the way, we are still taking bids for Gourmets for God, the fundraiser you can eat. Head into Papakee Hall after service and check out all the amazing events we have up for bid. We have gorgeous vegetarian feast, a game night, a recreation of a beatnik cafe, and of course, our dinner of the damned.
Well, that's wonderful. So now the stew is cooked enough, and it's time to get it out of the oven. Now comes the very important and not difficult thing about making the sauce. And what we're going to do here is to just the easiest way to degrease the sauce and give it its final flavoring is just to pour the whole thing into a saucepan, which we'll do here. I always find a towel always useful to have hung around me. There.
The very important and not difficult thing about the auction is the bidding process. Before you place a bid, be sure to register with Julia or myself, and we'll give you a bidder number and an auction booklet. There you're ready to place your bids. It's so simple.
And what's so simple is we let all the sauce drain out, and then we simply put the stew back into the casserole. And now we have about 2.5 to 3 cups of sauce, which we do just about here. And what we do now is the final flavoring of it. And we also want to take off any fat which has accumulated.
Well, take off any low bids that have accumulated to make it apparent who has the highest bid. But you'll have to come back and check. Each event only has a set number of guests, and only that many bidders can win. The auction closes October 19th. Don't forget to bid on multiple lines if you plan to bring your spouse or partner.
Now, if you made this a day or two ahead of time, you can put it all in the ice box, and the fat would come to the surface and you just scrape it off. In this case, we're just going to skim it. Now, unless you're on one of those fat-free diets, you want to leave just a little bit in because it gives a very good flavor.
Don't skim on this auction. With events like this, there's bound to be a good flavor of several.
That sounds delicious. And now we want to taste it. It should be just exactly right at this point, or if it's not, we're going to make it so. That's very good. I think it needs a little more salt. And it needs some pepper. Now, I'll just taste it again to be sure. If you feel it didn't have enough, you could put in a little more. In this case, we're fortunately find that it's just right. And just in time, because we are out of time again. So join us again when we finish the sauce and serve up this very good beef bourguignon. This is Julia Honeychild. That's all for today on the Gourmet Goddess. Thank you and bon appetit. Very little, very little.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry. Okay. Well, thank you, Gourmet for God's Goddesses. That was amazing. And one of these days, I want to try your beef bourguignon. Yes. So, our announcements today, of course, just a reminder to place your bid in Papke Hall after service today. Make sure you register first to get your number. Dining with the Dudes is resuming the second Sunday of each month, which will be next week. So look forward to that. Bring your appetite. The Drumming Circle is resuming the first Sunday of each month, starting November 2nd. And that will be on, as I mentioned, Sunday. So not Saturday, it'll be Sunday. And then also, this is kind of an advanced announcement, but I'm going to be officiating an annual ceremony of remembrance. And that is going to take place on December 7th, which is the first Sunday of December. And to honor our loved ones, whether it's family, friends, or pets. And so I am inviting you to send me information about your loved ones. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as you want to honor, and I will put it together in a video. And I need the information no later than Thursday, November 20th. And I'm giving you advanced warning because if you're like me, you want to dig through pictures, and they may be deep in the closet in their storage room or something like that. So I want to give you some advanced heads up. You can find all the details in the announcements in your bulletin, and then prayer requests. You can drop a confidential prayer request in the prayer box on the altar in the back, and there's also a prayer box in home space. Okay, so we like to begin each Sunday with our affirmation, or affirming our vision statement. I'm sorry. You'll find it on the screen behind me. Yes. Yep. So let's say it out loud together. We live a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. And now it's time to change the tone and let the Bradfords center us for our message for today.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
this quiet place, Holy Spirit, you are welcome. There is a fresh anointing in this place. One mind, one power, and one presence. The onlooker of the universe, the great I am. It is the cosmic rhythm of the universe that animates my body, fills me from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. It is the twitterpation of nature, witnessed in the field of the sweet essence of a field of lilies and the beauty of a butterfly. It is that divine presence that binds us together heart to heart and soul to soul. I allow this presence to feel me as I realize the reality of my supply. And it is the cosmic rhythm of the universe, that presence, that essence, that sweet, mystic remembrance that I stand in. And I know that there is divine order. There is peace, there's joy, and there is love. There is an understanding that goes beyond human understanding. And for this, I am so very grateful. And from this place of gratitude, I know that this service unfolds in the perfection of the Infinite One. As Reverend Sue comes before us, cloaked in grace, with a word that has been pressed down, shaken up and running over in her spirit, a word that comes to bless us, that quickens our spirit. And I say a blessing for every faith tradition that honors the many pathways of God. And in loving awareness, I know that it is so. I let it be, as it rests in the fertile soil of the heart and mind of God. And so it is. Amen and Ashe. Our reading today will come from my most favorite book so far, 365 Science of Mind. And actually, it is from today's, if I can find it. One moment, please. It is entitled, The Spirit of God Within Me is Free. No, that's not it. I apologize. It is, I pray without ceasing because I live in constant faith. The secret power of faith is in a conscious union of the soul with the oversoul. Realizing that God is the ever-present reality, I know that I cannot escape by union with the infinite. Knowing that I abide in the spirit of truth and that the spirit of truth abides in me, today I open my consciousness to a greater acceptance of life. Acknowledging my good, I enter into the banquet hall of life. I recognize the Spirit as my host. I recognize that all others are unified with me in the spirit of good. I pray without ceasing because I live in perfect faith. Please allow that to sink into your spirit today as you contemplate. So we take a minute. And so it is.
There's been a storm brewing inside of me, clouds moving around my heart. Something's changing is safe, but not where I'm supposed to be. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call of something I never felt before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call, and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 They say that pain pushes till the vision pulls. Feels like my safety nets are falling down. I wish I had a map of where to go. Got this feeling in my soul. When I get there, I will know. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call of something I never felt before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call, and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 I wanna make a move right now, though I don't know when or how. When I trust and know the truth, my heart will point the way. There's more of me to share, so today I do declare I will take that step in faith and let my light shine. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call of something I never felt before. I feel the call of something more. I feel the call, and it's asking, what am I here for? 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 It's all about love and giving and receiving. I'm here for love.
Thank you, Bradfords. They always rise to the occasion to just, I texted Kathy and said, if you have this song in your repertoire, great. If you don't, I understand. But as always, you pulled it off, so thank you. Let me see if this works. Oh yeah. Yay, woohoo! When I can figure out the basic technology, you know? So today, the title of my talk is Divine Discontent, God's Call to Expand and Grow. So I don't know about you, but I have never been, when it's happening, a big fan of divine discontent. But it is something that when I'm willing to relax, to let go, and to see it differently, that my response to it then is much faster, much more profound. So it is an unease that moves us toward a greater relationship with Spirit. So there's a quote at the bottom of this slide that's a little hard to read, but it is the University of Texas Austin theme, "What starts here changes the world." And this talk has gone through many iterations, and I was going to use some stuff from a man named Admiral William McGraven, who gave a commencement address at University of Texas. And he has a book, I think it's called Make Your Bed. It's about the 10 lessons that he learned from being a Navy SEAL and Navy SEAL training, which the people I've known who are Navy SEALs say it is beyond imagining. but it probably isn't going to make it into the talk, but the quote just makes a difference to me. What starts here changes the world. And what I want you to know, what starts in you changes the world. In fact, it's the only thing that changes the world. It's the only thing that makes a difference in life. That when we look at life and we say, what can I do? Yes, there are some of us who are called to do what the world might say bigger things, but the truth is, it changes the world simply when we change our perspective. And so, to me, having that divine discontent is simply one of the steps in making the point where what I am and who I am and what I do changes the world. So, growth, the basic principle here today is growth generally happens with a nudge. And sometimes it's a real simple nudge. Sometimes it's a quick and easy nudge. Sometimes it's a little more forceful. And I find that for me, the more I resist, the harder I resist, the bigger the push. That when I am willing to just open and say, there's just something going on here, I can respond in a much kinder, faster fashion. But it's both a push, it's also a tug. So for me, it's like a spot there in my chest, in my heart space, that's like has a cord attached to it, and it's just being pulled. Sometimes it's a slight little pull. Sometimes it'll pull me off my feet. It depends on the level of resistance that I have to it usually. So I try at this point in my life to not have it pull me off my feet, but it has been known to happen. But one of the big things I want you to know is that discontent, that discomfort, in fact, any discomfort, isn't punishment. It isn't a lesson. It isn't God testing us. At least the God that I believe in does not sit around going, well, look, there's Cheryl back there. I haven't seen her for a little while. Good to see Cheryl. There must be something that she needs to learn. I think I'll just make her life a little miserable. That to me, that is not the God that I believe in. The God that I believe in just loves. Just loves. That's all there is. God loves, and I'm the one that resists. So for me, this is about pushing ourselves to a point of expansion. And we are always expanding or contracting. It is one or the other. We rarely can stay still. So learning to be comfortable with discontent is about being comfortable with change and uncertainty. And most importantly, it's about opening ourselves to the highest possibility that the divine has to offer us. Because I guarantee you that what the divine has to offer so far exceeds our wildest imagination. We're going to talk about some of Carolyn Miss's work coming up, but one of the things that I mention this all the time, she talks about how do I know the difference between God's good idea for me and my good idea for me. Well, my good idea for me is always manageable. It's usually achievable. I can usually come up with a pretty good map on how I think God ought to get us there. And it's pretty simple. God's good idea usually evokes the comment of, "Are you kidding me? What?" That's usually that shriek is usually mine. What? Are you kidding? Because God's ideas are big. God's belief in us, God's possibility, it's endless, it's huge. And so am I willing to stand still and feel the discomfort to see what's being pulled? Because in the song that Kathy sang beautifully, there's a line from Michael Beckwith that says, "Pain pushes until the vision pulls." So I don't know about you, even if it's scary if the vision is pulling, it is my preferred option to being pushed. That oftentimes when there is a bigger vision that God is calling us to, It's not clear. We don't know how it's going to happen. In fact, usually with that, "are you kidding me?" comes, "you can't get there from here." It's one of my, when I have conversations with God, it frequently includes, "but you can't get there from here." No, not on your path and your idea. There is a bigger version, a much bigger version. So there's a couple of quotes that I dearly love. One is from Joseph Campbell. "We must be willing to let go of the life we had planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." Let go of our planning for this greater version that's available to us. And then the other is by an American sociologist named Charles Dubois. And he says, "The most important thing is this: to be able to, at any moment, sacrifice what we are for what we could become." What we are is comfortable, right? It's easy. We know how to do this, even if it's unpleasant sometimes. It is something that we know how to do. I also use this example a lot, which some people don't love, but how does a baby get to the point where they stop using diapers? The answer is when they get sick of sitting in it, right? I don't know about you, but there have been times when what I know, even if it's unpleasant, I know it. So I'd rather stay there because I know it. So the process is really learning to say, even if I don't know, do I believe that there is something greater? Do I believe that there is a way that I don't see? So I always go to definitions. I look at the definitions of expand and contract. And I had to get out my grammar book. Ruby Calvert, my English teacher, would be so appalled that I had to look this up. I'm sorry, Ruby, wherever you are in heaven. They give you a definition of a transitive and an intransitive verb. And I went, I should know what the difference is, but I don't. So here you go. Here's your English lesson that goes with church today. A transitive verb is something that's done to someone or something, and most verbs are transitive. It answers the question what or whom. It is giving and receiving of action. An intransitive verb answers where, when, how, or how long. It's something that's done, but it involves the subject as opposed to the giver or the receiver. Go figure. So anyway, expand as a transitive verb is to open up. It is to unfold. It is to expand and grow. And as an intransitive verb, it's to open out. So one opens up, one opens out. And with contract, then, it's basically the reverse. It limits, restricts, or draws together, reduces to a smaller size, squeezing or forcing it together. And then the other is it simply draws together to diminish size. So I look at it and say, do I allow my life to continue to draw together and to get smaller and smaller and smaller? Or am I committed to expansion? And here's what I know about expansion. Conscious, awake, and aware. For expansion to happen easily, for expansion to happen, it's not always comfortable, but in a more comfortable fashion, it requires that I stay conscious, awake, and aware. And the old expression, when the pain of being the way you are becomes greater than the pain of change, you'll change. I know that to be true. It is not my preferred way, however, and I will be forever grateful to Reverend Richard Rogers when he looked at me one day and said, could there be another way? Could there be another way? Is it possible that in the presence of enough love, enough kindness, enough caring, enough compassion, that we feel safe enough and loved enough to not try to control things? That we're willing to step out in the presence of that much love, knowing that we will get caught. So in the song that Kathy sang, one of the lyrics is that we feel like our safety net is gone. But in the presence of enough love, it becomes the safety net. And so that's a question of, am I willing to surround myself with people who I know love and support me, who will accept me when my hair's on fire, when my fangs are dripping, when I'm challenging life, when I'm challenging God. They love me right there. And they love me when I am at my highest and best. And that, for me, is when change begins to be easier to have happen. But here's the bad news. Well, it's one of many pieces of bad news, depending on how you look at it, I might deliver today. But change requires dedication and practice. We have to practice at being open, awake, and aware. So another quote that I dearly love is by Brene Brown. You can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you can't have them both. And I usually add at least at the same time. You can choose courage or you can choose comfort. Because courage is rarely comfortable, right? If you need courage, it's because there's something going on that is pushing you, that divine discontent, to expand. And then Pema Chodron says, we sow the seeds of our future health and happiness by the way we open or close our minds now. Because a closed mind for me is the fastest way for me to whip up a little hell on earth. Because that's when I am restricting everything. It's when I go, okay, God, here's the way it's got to go. I want this, 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 and this. And oh, by the way, it should happen here and there and this and way and that way. And oh, preferably not. Because I don't know about you, but I rarely say to God, yeah, next week, next month, next year, whatever. No, we're usually a little more impatient. So it's about really looking and saying, what do I choose now? So Pema Chodron has a great lecture that she does. It's available free online. And she talks about different zones. And the first zone is the comfort zone. So the comfort zone is, we all have them and we all need them. We need to have that space. I don't know about you, I was talking with my board president, Bill, from Lake Havasu yesterday for a long time on the phone, and his life has had some really huge challenges. And we were talking about the fact that sometimes it's really good. We have a comfort zone for a reason. Sometimes it's okay to say, I am going to just turn on whatever. For me, it would be BritBox or Acorn, and binge watch Inspector Lindsley. And just not think and not care. Comfort zones are important. They give us that break, that respite. And the challenge zone is what she refers to it, or the learning zone, and I have a tendency to prefer learning zone. And that's the point in life where we are willing to step out, and sometimes not willing to step out, but the learning continues to happen. The opportunities for us to grow, deepen, expand, and learn are always present. Whether we listen to them, whether we take advantage of them or not, depends. And then the excessive risk zone is a really important zone. It's not something that should be ignored. It shouldn't be thought ill of, because it is the point where we say, I'm not ready to go there yet. And if you aren't ready to go to whatever it may be, you don't learn anything. You just are traumatized or re-traumatized. So that outer zone, the excessive risk zone, is as important as any of the others. But how they interact with each other is the important piece. So what happens is, if we don't want to leave our comfort zone, if that's where we hang out and stay all the time, the bad news is our comfort zone shrinks. And everything begins to look challenging. Everything begins to look too big and too much. And we just want to stay in our little cocoon. So I think of that when the visualization that comes to me when I know that I have spent too much time in the comfort zone and it's contracting, is a roly-poly bug. You know what I mean by a roly-poly bug? You touch it and it goes and it rolls into a low ball. It's got a little hard shell. You touch it, it says, nope, all the soft spots are being tucked in and protected. But that little roly-poly bug then becomes this tiny little bug. Alive, yes, but tiny. And so what I have to remember for myself is, do I really want to stay in that little tucked position? Because when I am not willing to leave my comfort zone, it shrinks, it contracts. And then what happens is when we regularly are willing to open to that divine discontent, when we're willing to open to the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to change, then all kinds of things begin to happen to us. But more importantly, our comfort zone expands. Our comfort zone expands a lot because we are now at a point where we're not afraid of the divine discontent. We know that the universe does want what's best for us, that we look and approach the learning zone opportunities in a different way. We don't see them as something to be frightened of. And then what happens is the excessive risk zone shrinks. And it shrinks down to the point where it really is what it's designed to do. It's sort of like, don't put your hand on a hot stove. Don't pick up that pan without a pot holder. Julia had to have her little towel on her neck because you don't want to pick that up without some support. There is a reason for the excessive risk zone. But in this scenario where we keep learning, when we keep pushing ourselves, when we listen to the divine discontent, then what's left in the excessive risk zone is the stuff that's really designed to keep us safe. And so it's important for us to remember that it's all about conscious, awake, and aware choice. Thich Nhat Hanh says, enlightenment is like a wave in the ocean. And it's the moment when the wave realizes that it's the water. Right? That we realize through practice that we are connected, and that the more we are awake and aware and the more we practice, the more comfortable it is. The more we just know that we are the water of the ocean simply forming as a wave. And as we step out of our comfort zone, we step up to the spiritual awakenings for the opportunities that are bigger than we are. And it's important to remember that it is bigger than we are. So as the journey of stepping out into the unknown, we can begin to ask ourselves some questions. What will we bring with us? What are we willing to leave behind? Because change requires both of those. Change requires that we do leave some things behind. And I don't know about you, but there have been times, one of the questions that I have always gotten grumpy about when asked of me, would you be willing to let go of the good in your life for something even better? And the first time I was asked that, I thought, that is just a dumbass question. I'm sorry. I'm sure that's a spiritual term somewhere. Sorry about that. That slipped out in my outside voice. But I did think it was a dumb question because I thought, why would you want to give up something good? If it's good, it's working. If it works, don't fix it. Isn't that what we say? Right. If it works, don't fix it. Right. Unless what's there is better than you can even imagine. And the hard part for me is that, can I imagine? Am I willing to let go and say, there is an infinite possibility of the divine that is huge? And are we willing to take a step out? Because a part of this process is it always requires courage. The world is always asking us to be brave. God is asking us to trust, to know that the courage is always present in us. The power is always present in us. We don't have to create it. One of my big downfalls is I think if I have to be strong, I have to create it. And I don't know about you, but there's just a limited resources of what I create, especially when it comes to power and strength and patience. My job is to get out of the way and allow the strength of God to come to me and move through me. the strength of God, the power of God, the wisdom of God, the clarity of God. It's about opening to God's power, not whatever it is that I create. And then the last thing about that is that to remember that we're an important part of the creative process, that we co-create with God. That some people believe that God has this rigid plan for you. And that's okay if you believe that. I don't happen to be one that does. I believe that God just loves. That God says, I want what's best. I want more for you than you can even imagine. And I'm not going to try to constrict and restrict how that's going to be. Open up and allow it to unfold and see. So the world needs us to be open, awake, and aware. It needs us to step out of our comfort zone because, as Admiral McRaven and the University of Texas, Austin, what starts here changes the world. What starts here changes the world. So it's important to remember that all spiritual growth is about that paradox. It's about letting go. It's about releasing. It's about not being caught up by old ideas and beliefs and erroneous life. But it's also opening and expanding to what we need to embody to allow that greater consciousness to show up. And we are always bumping up against our own set of beliefs, and we are bumping up against the race consciousness, the collective consciousness. So right now, Ernest Holmes talks about the macrocosm and the microcosm. So what's happening out here in the big world happens in our world at some level, unless we are conscious, awake, and aware. And even if we are conscious, awake, and aware, that there is an impact of the massive collective consciousness. So right now, the collective consciousness is a messy soup. It is not a lovely clear broth. It is a messy soup with a lot of stuff floating in it. And I don't care what you believe, what side of the fence you're on, whatever it may be, it's messy right now. And so what do? It's our job to rise up in consciousness and say, I can either be buffeted by the world or I can make a choice to stay open, awake, and aware and know that my job is to lift, to raise, to not feel victimized by the world, but to believe that the universe does indeed desire to bring me my good. And my job is to not bite the hook. Pema Chodron talks a lot about biting the hook. Don't bite the hook of fear, of uncertainty, of that anxiety about that divine discontent. I think that our whole world is an example of divine discontent right now. And if we choose to look at it from that perspective, it's a lot easier to see it differently. My never-ending prayer is, God, help me see this differently. Help me see this differently. Because the only person that can do that is me. So, we're going to go on to some work of Carolyn Myss. And for me, it's both the push and the pull. Carolyn Myss has a fabulous 55-minute talk on the 3 levels of intuition. And I've probably listened to it 10 times because it just has touched me so deeply. And she talks about 3 types of intuition. There's survival intuition that is rudimentary, it is automatic, and you did it when you walked in here today. You walk in, you look at the room, you go, who's here, who's not here, who's safe, who's not safe. That's really the big question of your survival institution. Are you a good guy or a bad guy? Are you for me or are you against me? Is this safe or is this not safe? And what do I need to do to fit in and feel safe? Not be who I am, but it's that part of us that says, what do I need to do to have it be okay? And it's survival that keeps us, we want that, right? We don't want to try to do anything to that survival intuition, but we want to have a clean, clear understanding of it. So if we are caught up in our own stuff, if we don't have a high sense of value of ourselves, if we don't have a clear picture of who we are and see our value, then it begins to get a little toxic, because if I get a notion that you may be having a bad day, if I don't have a good, strong sense of myself, I will go, it must be something I did, right? Because, of course, we think it's all about us. There's a woman named Elsa Chamberlain who said something once. She said, we all spend so much time worrying about what people think of us. The fact of the matter is, they rarely do. And I added to that, and when they do think of us, it's usually, what do you think about me? Right? Because that is how our brain is hardwired, is to look at how this impacts me. And so the survival instinct then becomes for a function of being able to detach that personal emotional response and to shift a very automatic personal thing into that wider picture of a disquiet, of that impersonal viewpoint. Otherwise, when it's all about me, it can become very toxic and very inaccurate. So how do we change from one type to another of the intuitions? And one of the most important thing is learning to quiet the mind. And in doing that, it has to do then with how we look at things. So this is one of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes of all times. We should be able to look a discordant fact in the face and deny its reality, since we know its seeming reality is borrowed from illusion, and I love this term, the chaos of old night. The chaos of an old night. We should be able to look at the wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. Realization that we have this ability must be gained by the application of our knowledge. Sometimes I like that part of the quote, sometimes I don't. But here's the part that's really the key to me. The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth and a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us into conscious knowledge. The inner spirit guides us to the conscious knowledge. And so in that process of going through, it becomes a question of quieting my mind. Because I don't know about you, we all have a very noisy mind. But some days my mind is just like, so one of my guilty pleasures is I watch shows about what goes on and sort of with the animals in the zoo and the keepers and how they care for them and how they'll do like cataract surgery on a silverback gorilla who's getting old and all kinds of amazing things. And it's one of the things that brings me joy. But it's about, so when they show the monkeys and the gorillas, they're loud little buggers. There's this one kind of a monkey that screams and its neck blows up. It's like an air bubble and it's just but loud and screaming. And I look at those sometimes and I go, this is what goes on in here some days. And when my mind is really loud, I see in my mind's eye, it's frightening to live in my mind, I admit that. Very frightening. But when my mind gets in that loud chatter and that won't shut up, I see that monkey with its little throat expanding. And I go, I can stop that. I don't have to be that little monkey that's going, Gah! But learning to quiet our mind is really, really important, because overthinking is just a quick kiss of death. And so there are all kinds of spiritual practices designed to do that. Meditation, prayer, almost every spiritual practice at one point in time or another will help you slow down and quiet your mind. So then we move on to the next fun level of intuition, and that's creative intuition. And it involves that deeper connectivity of what's inside of our soul. And it is an innovative way where we can begin to open and see that there's more. Carolyn Mace talks about it as you can feel that you've had a download. So one of my spiritual practices, and I don't really remember dreams very often because of this, every night as a part of my closing down for the day, as a part of my spiritual practice, look at the gratitudes of the day, look at what worked and what didn't work of the day, but then I will say, God, I am turning this computer of my brain and my soul over to you. Right now, download any updates and upgrades that need to be downloaded into me so that when I wake up in the morning, it's fresh and new, and all of those updates are now operational in my life. And for me, that just allows me to open and say, I am going to be willing to allow that creativity of the divine to come to me and operate through me and in me and as me. And the key here is it's very, very personal, this kind of intuition. It touches us deeply. And very frequently, we don't know all of what it is. We just know that something's going on. And I don't know about you, but I don't like it when all I know is that something's going on. I would rather have a clear picture. Okay, God, and I say this to, see again, and how frightening to live in my mind. But in my conversations with God, I will go, burning bushes. I need a burning bush. I'm not really fond of this whole uncertainty, your divine discontent little pushes. I would rather have a really clear path. And sometimes I get one, and sometimes the answer is hush. Just hush. Allow it to unfold, because she refers to this form of intuition as creative pregnancy. Takes 9 months. And in the zoo shows, some of those babies on like elephants take a year and a half. You know, it's like, that's got to be a drag. A year and a half? I'm not real patient, God. I'm not waiting for this notion to be born for a year and a half. But the truth is, if you look at my life, I stand before you now with a title Rev, finally at 70, and I have been talking about going to ministerial school for at least 20 years. At least. It wasn't the right time. The creative pregnancy required that elephant-like gestation period to get me here. And so a part of this whole process with creative intuition is to allow yourself to step back and to detach your expectations from this is how it should or shouldn't be. There was a period of time when I first started ministerial school that I went, bad Sue, it took you this long, it was just hush. Just hush. It unfolds when and how and as it should. And in this creative intuition, it's looking at potential versus individual choices. It's looking at maintaining versus expanding. And so it's about learning to listen in a new way. And then comes the hard one. This is the one that brought me to this point, that finally got me to ministerial school. And not only to go, but well, I can't say completely behave because that would be a lie, but behave mostly. I did call Karen one day, Reverend Karen one day, and say, I just want you to know in my very first class in ministerial school, I'm going to be thrown out now. And she said, what did you do? And I said, I told the instructor he was full of something. And she went, of course you did. Of course you did. But it's important with visionary intuition is it represents a profound understanding of something much, much bigger than we are. That it is pushing our purpose and our potential. And it is something that she described it as spirit has the capacity to transcend you in this lifetime and what you're doing in this lifetime. Visionary intuition is that which is calling us to that bigger purpose of who we are. And that it just won't leave you alone. As much as I tried to ignore it for 20 years, it kept going, seriously, how long is this going to take? And so it's realizing that visionary institution comes in its own time, in its own way. And the key is to focus on the responding and nurturing the choices necessary for this bigger picture. And looking at the larger scope. So one of the things between transcendence and transformation and change has to do with not getting caught up in how we think it should be. That rather it's about moving to something bigger. So I will give you one quick story. She tells a story about a woman who had this vision, had this visionary intuition, and it just made no sense. It had to do with going to Europe, and she didn't know anybody in Europe, and you know, everything about it was like, huh? But it was so insistent and so continuous that she went, okay. And she moved to Europe, and ultimately she ended up meeting someone, and they started this foundation that helps homeless children from other countries, usually war-torn countries, who have nowhere else to go and no one to support them, that will be living on the street. And she talks about something that was really quite beautiful. She said she would follow one thing, one piece of advice she got, and then she would stand still and wait for the next arrow, is how she described it. Stand still and wait for the next arrow. One step at a time, stand still and wait for the next arrow. So that visionary process is one that frequently it's so big that you do say, really, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know that I have that in me. Right? I don't know that I have what it takes. I have accepted the senior minister position at the Lake Havasu Center, and there are times when I look at things that are going on and I go, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? And the answer to that is, and they have pointed it out, and as have many people, you for years have said, no, I don't want to be a senior minister anywhere. Well, maybe except for Lake Havasu. If Reverend Val leaves, I probably would take that. And here I am. But it's something that's big, right? You just have to be willing to say, I don't have to be able to figure it all out today. I just have to be willing to be in the space. I have to be willing to allow it to unfold. And in the 4 kingdoms, or the stages of spiritual maturity, there's the vessel period where love leads, and it's through me, and Veritas is as me. And this visionary intuition is a combination of the two. It is through me and as me. And that my job is to let it be that big. Let it be that big. Consciously choose to get out of our way. Because when we do that, Spirit's potential literally can explode in full force in our life. Did I go the wrong way? Yes, I did. I thought I was so smart. So, here's some questions for the journey. Spirit, what newness are you calling me into? What's mine? What's new? What is this big calling about? And when you step into the unknown, what will you bring with you and what will you leave behind? But then a question that I added after I created these slides, and it's one that kept coming to me. If I was living my life to the fullest, if I was truly living my life to the fullest, what would it look like? What would it be? And it's our job to simply do that. So if you remember as a kid, do you remember this? Stop, look, and listen. I just for the heck of it pulled up, because, never mind. I just pulled up a little thing about stop, look, and listen. And there's a little song of kids about learning to stop and look before you cross the street and listen for cars and do all that. So for me, stop, look, and listen then becomes stop, and quiet that busy mind. Find ways that you can to say hush to your mind. Look is to look for signs of the next great expression of you, to stop and look for the next arrow. Even if it isn't a burning bush, to stop and look for the next arrow. And listen is to listen to that intuition, to all of those types of intuition. And then the really hard part. Do it. Do it. I don't know about you, but it is much more comfortable for most of us to go, once I'm guaranteed that it'll all be okay, then I'll go. In this case, in following and learning to listen to your intuition, it is about following it. It is about taking action. It is about trusting. If you learn to listen, it's trusting that indeed the divine wants more for you. So thank you. So let's just take a moment and anchor all of this in prayer. I know that right here, right now, the activity of spirit that is pure peace and joy, love, happiness, harmony, wisdom, clarity, kindness, compassion, prosperity, health, well-being, everything and more. That all of that is the power that is in charge here in this moment and in every moment. It is in charge in me. It is in charge in you. It is in charge everyone, everywhere. Lives and moves and has their being in that divine wisdom. And that even the times when we don't listen, the times when we turn our back, the times when we say, no, God, I got a better way to do this, whatever it may be, that there is just love. God just loves us in all of the ways we show up, and is constantly pushing, pulling, drawing us into a greater expression of who we are. That greater expression is beyond our wildest imagining. It is something that if we let go and allow, that the divine will indeed make a path, that there will always be different turns in the road, and sometimes it may feel like we've taken the wrong one. But that divine wisdom is like that spiritual GPS that is forever correcting, changing, shifting, and moving, allowing us to see the world differently, allowing us to keep moving, and to know that regardless of what happens, there is always a path to a greater and greater level of good. There is always an opportunity. There is always a deeper expression. There is always a higher sense of love, more peace, more joy, more happiness, more harmony, more wisdom, more clarity. It's so, so, so much more. It is simply for us to open and say yes. It is for us to listen. It is for us to stay conscious, awake, and aware. And when we forget, to simply choose again. The power of choice is the greatest gift that we could ever receive from the divine. That as we open to that wisdom, to that intuition, to that guidance, to that push and pull of the divine discontent, and to the greater expressions that come with it, the greater levels of joy and happiness, that our soul is fed, that in the very depths of who we are lifted and shifted and protected and guided and cared for, that we always have this exquisite power of love that lives under us, around us, in us, and as us. So as we move forward, we do so with a sense of enthusiasm, with a sense of excitement, with a sense of expectancy of good, good, and more good. That we know that the divine is going before us, making the way clear, placing those arrows, providing us guidance. We simply have to listen and then follow. So I give thanks for each and every person today, knowing that this time spent on your own spiritual expansion is something that goes with each of us as we go forward through this week, as we go forward through this month, through this year, through all times, that this guidance is with us always. And I give thanks for that beauty and kindness, knowing that the universe has already said yes to our heart's desire. It has already said yes to that bigger picture than we can even imagine. It has already said yes to an extraordinarily high level of good, of love, of kindness, of happiness. We simply need to allow it and say yes. So with such deep gratitude, I release this out into both love and law, the synchronicity and the synergy of both that come together, that allow our lives to unfold with a sense of beauty, grace, and ease. And together we say, and so it is. So thank you, everyone.
That was awesome. How many of you have experienced some divine discontent? Anytime. Oh, so make sure that you go into Papke Hall afterwards and place a bid on your favorite Gourmets for God event. I've taken a peek at them and they look amazing. So it's time to celebrate our abundance. We don't pass around an offering plate, but we do have drop boxes, one going into Papke Hall, the black box, and one in the back of the room, and then also one at Home's Base. So let's go ahead and repeat our affirmation here in a second. Oh.
It doesn't magically fix itself.
Oh, good to know. Oh, that's a scary looking road.
Is it written?
What?
Oh, it's not there. All right, we'll just have to know. We know it by heart.
Okay, we live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for the song.
Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive.
Sing along.
Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive.
I
right, so repeat after me. I am willing to step out of my comfort zone.
I am willing to step out of my comfort zone
So I can expand and grow.
so I can expand and grow.
And so it is.
And so it is.